Welcome to the Imperial Grandstand. I'm Alan Imperial.
I'm Carlos Del Rosario.
And on today's episode, we're going to be building a bard.
Building a bard, Burley style.
Oh yeah.
Yes. All right. So here we go.
Again, there's a million ways you could build a bard for Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. You could use the starter kit we were talking about in a previous episode on paper. We're personally going to be using D&D Beyond website. The nice thing is, without paying a cent, you can make a handful of characters, like
Six characters with the base edition of D&D Beyond. If you wanted to pay more on a subscription, I think you'd be allowed to make more characters. But for now, 6, and
we're gonna make it super simple for you guys.
Gonna make it super simple. So first, you need to register for D&D Beyond. It shouldn't be too hard. You can do it with Google or Apple.
Facebook.
Facebook,
blah, blah, blah.
yeah.
Once you make the account, we're going to go over to Tools here, and we're going to go right to Character Builder. Now, under New Player Guide, it basically says the same thing. So we're just going to go right to here. If we wanted to do a quick build, where D&D Beyond basically makes our character for us, we basically have to choose two things, a race and a class. Today we're going to be doing a standard build, or if you knew what you were doing, you could randomize it. But
yeah, that's like the question mark in Marvel vs. Capcom. I never. Oh, why? It's Ken.
Yes, it is Ken.
It's gonna be Ken all the way, man.
Hadouken. So we're gonna be creating a character, and it tells you a little about it. You could read it yourself. We're gonna skip past this page. And the first thing we have to do is name our character.
Yes, I don't think E3, etc., is the best name in the fantasy setting, to be honest. You can hit the randomizer. Aurora? I don't like the way that sounds in my mouth. Yeah.
Raliar.
Ralira. All right, cool.
Ralira.
I like that.
All right.
Nice.
Now, for the next section, for our character preferences, this is where we're getting our character from. This is one you really want to talk to your DM about, because they could actually make their own stuff for you, and you could find it on the website.
Yeah.
Or let's say you're watching a show that we love, Critical Role. You could add their stuff.
Yeah, up to your DM. So yeah, keep on. Also, what we should let you know is that if you're a first-time character builder, your DM, I think, should be supervising. I think that's nice. And what I do and have done is I will have a character being made by a new player, and they'll share the screen through Zoom, so I could guide them through it, and they could really talk about it, because I think this is a relatively simple process, but for a new player who doesn't understand the context, it could be a bit overwhelming. So that's something to keep in mind.
And also, the great thing about talking to your DM, and maybe even the other player characters at the table, is that you get to find out at least best practices, or if things are a little confusing, they could help you out along the way, because this video, it's super basic.
Oh, and something to keep in mind is that all of this could all be edited. You could make a mistake, and you could go back to the beginning and just change whatever you need.
Right. Because let's say eventually we want to play with Ricky and Morty content. We can. Even though we're not checking that little thing right now. Next thing we're going to talk about is advancement type. There's two options, milestone and XP, and I'm going to let the DM talk about it.
Okay, well, XP, I think if you're a gamer, you probably know XP by now. That's the number you get by eliminating opponents or finishing a mission, and that's up to the DM. Milestone is something different. The DM decides when you advance. So maybe they would say, oh, by your third session, you will advance from level 1 to level 2, or maybe once you pass this mission, you will advance. So again, up to your DM, and they should keep you in the loop about this.
Yeah. For hit point type, this is the first time we get to make a decision for ourselves and about our character. Um, your DM can be involved, but this is basically how does our character, the bar that we're going to create specifically, how is their HP going to scale over time? We're going to keep everything at level 1 for the purposes of everything, but eventually we are going to level up, and this is going to decide whether the game does the math for us or if we gamble a little bit with dice.
Yes. So, yeah, there's an algorithm that the D&D Beyond uses for fixed, and it's just fine. It's always the middle of the road amount of HP you could get per level.
Yep.
Whereas with manual, that's literally a dice roll.
Yeah. Are you
So,
going to roll a 1? Are you going to roll a 6, an 8, a 10? It all depends. And,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
for our purposes, we're going to keep it fixed because it would be terrible if we rolled 1s. For prerequisites, this is just talking about what's going to happen with your character in the future. Um, Feats, to keep it very simple, these are abilities, skills, and stuff that your character could do beyond the normal, from what's normally for that class or race. And we're going to go over what's normal in a little bit. And multi-classing is, hey, can you be more than a bard? And again, this is something that your DM can and should be involved in, because
yes.
maybe they don't want to have multi-classing.
Yes, yes. Yeah, feats are abilities that you can choose to have in lieu of to have better ability scores, and multi-class requirements is if you wanted to. I'm not going to say change your class, but add another class to your current class. So let's just say you wanted to add a druid to your barbarian, which I hear is a very nice multi-class. You might need a prerequisite where you need a certain amount of wisdom in order to have a druid class with your barbarian class. So that's something to keep in mind. And again, yeah, I know we sound like a broken record. Talk to your DM.
Right. Encumbrance type is just saying, hey, how much weight you could actually carry in the world, or if it even matters. For our campaign, we're using encumbrance because I can't carry 50 swords at a time, unfortunately. But I can carry 5,000 coins, which is nice because for our purposes, again, we're ignoring coin weight, which is nice. Now, this is talking about. This is not important on this page, but we're just going to talk about it because it's here. What do you want to see most? Your ability score or your modifier score? And the way that it's set up is fine, and we're going to talk about that in detail when we actually get to the character sheet.
Yeah, and that'll be in another video. But modifiers are very important. Just put a pin in that.
Put a pin in that, yeah. And then lastly, do you want the world to see your mistake of a character?
I like that. That's yes. There we go. Moving on.
Here, we're going to choose a race. Now, we both feel that the game does it backwards because they say choose a race, and I don't know how the rest of the internet feels, but I feel you should be thinking about choosing your class first. What do you feel about that?
Yeah, I usually, I don't know, maybe it's the min-maxer in me. I just want the best character possible
Right.
without any weaknesses. But yeah, I like knowing what class I want to be first. And there are certain races that have
That help that class.
that help with that class.
Yeah.
So
Let's look at the Bard. We're right now on dndbeyond.com/classes, and it gives you a good, quick overview on each class, what their primary ability is. Because we have a bunch. We have Wisdom, we have Strength, we have Charisma, just to name 3,
Yes.
because we're keeping it simple. For the Bard, we have Charisma
charisma.
as our ability.
Yes.
So, when we're choosing a race, we should really be looking towards things that help with charisma. And we also see 2 other words here, dexterity and charisma under saves, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. But let's focus on this primary ability, charisma. So let's jump back to races. And the nice thing is they talk about all the races again on
Yeah.
dndbeyond.com/races. And in the middle here we have half elf, and under racial traits we have +2 to charisma, which is the min maxer in me as well. It's like, ah, yes, my class is good at charisma, and the half elf is good at charisma. The other great thing is the fact that you get +1 to other ability scores, which I think is awesome. Uh, I think another good race to be is human, if you're new, because human I don't think is bad in anything.
Oh no, no, they're highly adaptable, especially for the variant humans. They're basically like really good at everything. Also, a tiefling has a natural charisma of +2, so something to think about.
Yep. Now, let's say you wanted to do a bard that does a lot of talking. A human is a good, reliable choice because not only do you get that +1, there's also a new language you learn. But for our sakes, we're choosing half elf. So here, it gives you all the choices, and we're going to go down just to the basics, so we're not confused with too long of a list. Because look at this, there's a long list even for just the
Yeah,
basics.
and I know as a new player, it was kind of intimidating. Oh, I have to know all about these races.
Yeah,
And yeah, every one of them is special, and they have their own abilities. So
yeah.
these are the abilities of a half elf.
So our charisma score is going to be increased by 2 naturally, and now we have the option of choosing 2 other ability scores that get a +1. We also have something called dark vision. Uh, Something so important is the fact that we get to see in the dark. If it's dimly lit, we get to see perfectly, uh, up to 60 feet away. And if it's pitch black, we see things kind of, but we can't, like, it's all like in
Darkness, yeah.
shades of gray. Excuse me.
Shades of gray. Yeah,
Yeah.
monochrome. But yeah, it's better than being blind in the dark.
Yeah.
So something to keep in mind.
Something that I love with the half elf is the fact that magic can't put you to sleep. And you have something called advantage on saving throws against being charmed. That's a lot of words for saying you have
It's
you get helped with a bad spell.
yes, yeah. It's let's just say it's harder for you to be charmed as a half elf. Let's leave it at that for now.
Yeah, in
We'll
another
go into what
video,
advantage is later.
yeah, we'll talk about all of that. Then we have something called skill versatility, where we gain something called proficiency in 2 skills of our choice. Uh, a proficiency, I guess, is just makes you better in a skill.
Yeah, proficiency. It's what you're good at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as a half elf, we speak we get to speak 3 languages. We get to speak Common, Elvish, and an extra language of our choice. And as a bard, languages are super important. So we're gonna now choose our ability scores to increase. Charisma automatically gets chosen by 2, excuse me. And the thing about uh, anything that we're gonna be doing from here on out in Dungeons and Dragons, you can't double dip. So we can't choose to increase our charisma by another 1, unfortunately. But we did know that we saw in the classes that we have dexterity as something to look out for. So, without knowing anything else, I think having extra to dexterity is good.
Yes. Dexterity is generally going to be how good you are at attacking as a half-elf bard. That's something to keep in mind. If you were a half-orc barbarian, strength would be very important.
Right.
So that would be a skill you definitely want an ability score increase in.
Now, something else that I haven't talked about at all yet is the fact that a bard is a spellcaster. So, I think it's always good to have intelligence or wisdom.
Yeah, I would say wisdom. Wisdom is really great to have because that's one of the things that I love is perception, and it's just there are lots of traps, lots of darkness, and you have to be able to notice things.
So, intelligence, I feel, would help a character in casting spells. somewhat, but as a bard doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
And wisdom, as Carlos said, helps with a very specific spell called perception. So for this one, I think wisdom is the
Yeah.
way to go.
Ability or check, but we'll get into that later. But
Yeah.
yeah, wisdom is really great to have.
We already talked about dark vision, about how we get to see in dark, and we talked about Fey ancestry. You know. So speaking of perception, that is part of a skill, a part of one of the many skills. Uh, so we're gonna choose that because it's awesome, and now we get to kind of decide what else do we want to be good at. Do we want to be good at deceiving people? Do we want to be good at intimidating? Do we want to be good at persuading? I'm gonna hold off persuasion for now for a very specific reason that I'm gonna keep in my back pocket. Uh, but I think deception is always great as a bard because if you are, if you are trying to sneak past somebody, maybe you failed your stealth check. Time to lie.
Good point. Excellent point.
Now, there's a bunch of different languages, and obviously, we're not linguists. So, a really great starting point on choosing the languages here is just asking the DM, hey, where are we going to be? Who are we going to be meeting? Because if we're going to meet dragons, then maybe we want to speak Draconic,
Yeah.
you know? Or
Yeah.
if we're going to, I don't know, Hell, maybe we want to speak Infernal.
Infernal, yeah. Yeah, maybe if you had the idea of what your campaign is, you know what? Just to give an example, the campaign will take place in the the Underdark.
In the Underdark, they speak Undercommon. So we're going to choose Undercommon. So that way, we get to talk to anybody.
Nah.
Almost anybody. Anybody who speaks Undercommon in the
Yeah.
Underdark. So we're choosing the class now, and we've been talking about Bard this whole time. So obviously we're going to choose Bard, but there's there's over 10 classes, and there's a bunch of different reasons to choose a Bard. The reason I love a Bard is the role-playing aspect of it, is the fact that you're charismatic, you're basically like Tyrion Lannister.
Yes, very good.
You know.
Or what's that guy from The Witcher? Jaxer?
Oh, Joxer. Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Again, they're great at inspiring people. They're great at talking to people. In fact, they're also great at support. Both of them. Like, I don't know about you guys, but during that battle in the bay, man, he buffed his team at Tyrion.
Yeah. You know what occurred to me? There are some people that wish for, great strength or great magic to launch fireballs, of course. But then there are just some people I want to be talking good. And
like Carl's here, he wants to be talking good.
talking good.
So if you want to RP and you want to interact with characters, if you want to support your team, or if you want to debuff and not injure the enemies, but just make their lives difficult in roles,
Yeah.
that's the reason to choose a bard.
Yeah.
Is there anything else?
Yeah, generally not a frontline type of character. More, very much a support character. That doesn't mean, that they can't be eventually, but not the hardiest
Yep.
or the ones that cause the most damage. But yeah, very helpful.
And the last reason to be a bard, I guess, is the fact that they are literally the jack of all trades, masters of none.
They're the masters of talking.
They're the masters of talking. Yes. Yes. They're the masters at interacting. But at level 2, you get something called Jack of all trades. and it basically makes you not bad at anything. Doesn't make you good? Nope. Makes you not bad.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's
and,
like,
and, and
wow,
that's,
this person's a flaming ball of mediocrity. Wow.
yeah, if you're 5 feet tall and you're 100 pounds, you gotta be mediocre at, like, swinging a hammer. So now we have to choose some proficiencies. Because we're a bard, we actually have to choose instruments first. Do you have to know how to play a flute or a horn? No. But does it make it fun if you pretend? Yeah, during the roleplay. Uh, the good thing about these instruments is the fact that it just helps you with these tools when you're actually doing stuff, because it helps with your rolls. Or not roll, kind of, because you're proficient, but it makes you better. That's what I'm going to say.
Yeah, it adds stuff also as a bard. What I should mention is that you can cast spells using your musical instruments. So that's something that's good. It's a spell casting focus. I think that's what it's called.
Yes.
And I just like the vision of just a person with a lute, and it's like vicious mockery.
Like those blind guys. Wait, were those blind guides bards in that? Oh, it was that comedy movie made by soccer people. Kung Fu Hustle.
Kung Fu Hustle. Oh, you know
Yeah,
what? Quite
those guys were
possibly.
bards.
Quite possibly. The power of music.
Yeah, because they were using that
Oh
Chinese
no!
string instrument,
Yeah. There we go. Yeah.
and they were doing the
You
knife
know what?
thing.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. We'll edit in the
The guy.
the things. Yeah. There we go. Look at that. Ooh.
So again, proficiency helps you with making it better, and as a bard, we want to be good at performance. We chose wisdom earlier as our proficiency, as our ability +1. I forgot what it was called. AC, ability score. There we go. We gave our wisdom +1, so insight's gonna help us.
Yeah. Insight is peering into a person's motivations and souls, and it's like, oh, is this person trying to deceive me, or are they telling the truth?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, if you didn't know what your background was going to be, you would probably think, oh, Alan should be choosing persuasion. Why is that first? I'm holding that off for a very specific reason. So I'm going to choose intimidation for my last proficiency. Oh, something else to note about our proficiencies that's super important is that we're really good at wearing light armor, and we're really good at using simple weapons, hand crossbows, long swords, rapiers, and short swords.
Yes.
So this will guide us when we're choosing our equipment in the next few minutes. Now, because we are a spellcasting class, we actually level up as well for spellcasting as a wizard. So, even though we don't have the same type of spells, we get a ton of them. So it's super important to keep in mind. And one of the first spells we're going to get as a bard that's super simple is something called Bardic Inspiration. You can inspire others through stirring words or music. To do so, you use a bonus action on your turn to choose one creature other than yourself within 60 feet. Blah, 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 blah. Basically, I could just make people do better at certain things. And that's as most complex as I'm
Yeah.
going to
Leave
do
it at that. You called it a spell, but I wouldn't.
It's a bonus action.
It's a.
And I take spell back.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bonus action. That's what it. That's the actual thing. I was trying to avoid that word, but
Yeah, I know. And to us, yeah, to me, it would be considered a spell, but within the
context
of
a new player, something called a bonus action, and
well,
there's other things to learn at higher levels. And all I'm gonna say is, there they are.
there they are. We. This video can only be so long. We apologize.
So now we have to figure out our ability scores, and that's how good we are at stuff. And we could do it one of three ways. We could do the old-fashioned way with dice.
Yeah, and it's pretty fun. You have 4 d6s, 4 6-sided dice. you roll them, and you take out the one die that is
Of
the
your
lowest
choosing.
amount. Then you add the other 3 die together. You get a number like 15, and you do that 5 more times, and
You
that's
put it wherever you want.
where you get your numbers, and that's where you put 15 for charisma, and then
Yeah.
13 for wisdom, etc., etc.
Point by, it gives us everything starts at 8, and then we have 27 points to play with. We are going to use
Yeah.
standard array.
It goes into a little more detail, but
Little easier than manual, but still not as constraining as standard array. I personally am going to use standard array for this one.
yes,
Before we go on any further, let's just see what's helping us here. We have dexterity +1, wisdom +1, because those are the two we chose earlier, and then charisma +2 because of our half elf. So we definitely want to help out these three the most. And I'm going to put charisma at 14.
yes,
Now, I think it's. Is that here? No, it's here. So we have ability scores 1 through 20, right? And we get bonuses of stuff here, and that's what these numbers mean.
yes,
So when I add that 14, 15, I get a +2, and that's all we need to know about that.
yes.
So
So
whether I add a 14 or a 15, I still get the same bonus.
yeah, it only works on even numbers. That's how you get a modifier, which we will talk about later. But
Yep, and that's why it's
yeah,
14 because I get plus I it will be the same amount no matter what. The math
yes,
is there. We're gonna move down to dexterity, and I want to put that as 15. And look at that. And the last one, the third one I'm gonna choose is wisdom, and that gives us +2. Perfect. So notice how even though these two were odds of 15 and 13, it gets us up to the next level, which is why I chose dexterity, wisdom, and charisma in that way, because it min maxes. It's the most efficient. Now we have strength, constitution, and intelligence left. Because we're bard, intelligence and strength, I'd say, is the things we have to be least concerned about.
yes,
Uh, we have to be concerned about everything because all these abilities matter because random things could happen. But we're going to be focusing on Constitution.
yes. Constitution overall is very important because it's your endurance, your hardiness, but also it's how you calculate your hit points. So the higher your constitution, the more hit points your character has, and it's usually not a bad thing if your character has
Yeah.
a lot of hit points.
Yeah, we're a bard. We're not supposed to be on the front lines at all. We're not supposed to get hit. And I don't plan to get hit ever. But that doesn't mean I don't want to have a lot of hit points. Now, you can play a different way, but this is how I'm rolling it. I'm going to be more intelligent than I am strong.
Yes, and
And at 8, we start getting the negatives, which is fine. So we have our ability scores of 8, 16, 12, 16, 14, and 10. And I think that's a great spread. Would I like everything to be 16 or 18? Yes. But, not on the cards. This is the one that you could spend like years on if you want.
oh yes, absolutely, and but for now, let's just talk about the
Background.
background,
And
which
there's a ton. So we are not going to just choose randomly. The nice thing about D&D Beyond is that they have their backgrounds. And I'm just showing us what's basic. And we have a bunch. And the nice thing is it tells us what their proficiencies are and what their tags are. So we're looking for things that either have persuasion, insight, or deception. And we have 3. We could either be a noble, we could either be a criminal or spy, or we could be an acolyte. The nice thing is, all these things tell us what we get. Here, we get languages. I love languages as a bard. We get some holy symbol. I'm not about that. So I'm just gonna move that along. Or we could be a criminal or spy. We get a type of game and thieves' tools if we want to steal. Uh, and that's it. That's actually pretty cool. And then a noble, we get persuasion, which I really like. We also get a gaming set. Don't care about that. We get a language. And we get some gold. So, part of me really likes nobles for three reasons. The first reason is something called the scroll of pedigree. And that just basically says you're noble born and you're really noble born. And for role playing, that's super important because it allows you to get into places more easily if you weren't, if you didn't have that scroll of pedigree. It's never a guarantee, but if there's a gala, you know, it's easier than if you were like a homeless hobo.
Absolutely. Yes.
Uh, Now, can you make your own and mix and match? You can.
Yes, yes. You can customize a background, and that's just fine.
Because maybe you want to be better at persuasion and intimidation. Because they don't mix and match here. That's
Yeah.
up to you. But because of the noble born status and the language, I'm going to choose that. And persuasion just helps the cause. Because if I chose persuasion already, maybe I wouldn't need this. But I haven't.
Hmm.
I like cards, so it's always going to be cards for me. And we're already speaking undercommon because that's where we're going to be hanging out. So we don't need to worry about who we're going to be talking to.
Hmm.
Uh, One thing you always fight are goblins, and since we're good at deception, I'm going to choose the goblin language because now we could talk to them and fake them out possibly. Uh, we get that position of privilege as our background, and the rest you can add if you want or not.
Yeah. So they just have personality traits like
Yeah,
my favor. Once lost is lost forever. You can, yeah, let's just add that.
yeah,
Add anything.
yeah. Let's add that.
And again, well, this part, not necessary. You could still have your character without doing all this. But yeah, yeah, it's fun. It gives your character some texture.
Yeah, and the ideals talk about something that's called alignment. And remember, your alignment doesn't mean you can't change. It's like, let's say you choose alignment of lawful. That doesn't mean you can't break the law from time to time. Ju-
Yes, Captain America is lawful,
yeah,
but he doesn't always follow the law.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, he literally ripped off the star
Yeah,
from his chest.
and that was
the
a
A.
that was a great character moment. So something to keep in mind. It's as they say, it is descriptive, not prescriptive.
Right.
Yeah.
Because let's say that family, blood runs thicker than any water. It's like, yeah, doesn't matter. And as a royal, yeah, no, I'm all about family. Uh, and again, you could say how your bonds are, and it doesn't add or detract. And finally, do you have a flaw? And yes, I have a flaw for insatiable desire for carnal pleasures. Um, Again, you could choose whatever you want.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be chaotic
And
good.
once you select it, it gives you a description of what being a chaotic good means. So that's nice.
Again, it doesn't mean you're locked into that forever. Just like, okay, this is how my character kind of acts. Uh, Faith for a first-time character, I think, doesn't matter.
Yes.
Uh,
Um,
for a bard.
for a bard, yeah.
For a bard.
For a cleric whose power is derived from some sort of deity, yeah, this is probably more important. But if you're uncomfortable with faith or choosing a faith in Dungeons and Dragons, yeah, talk to your DM, and I'm pretty sure they'll let you slide. You don't have to put anything inside faith. It's totally cool.
Yeah. And finally, under character details, we have lifestyle. And this is basically your daily, like, Tax,
Expenses, yeah,
daily expenses.
your daily expenses. So, um, if you're living a modest life, uh, yes, you would be paying one gold piece a day, and every month within, the game world, you would be paying 30 gold pieces because that's the life that you're trying to sustain.
And the nice thing is, your DM might say it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Our first campaign, our like it's not really a campaign. We're just playing around with different modules. We're living a wretched life because even though we have money and we're paying at places, we're not minusing anything. Um, for physical characteristics, you could actually go to just to briefly show under sources. I bought the player's handbook. It's about $30 on D&D Beyond. You could go to Roll20 if you want. But the nice thing is they have all the racial they have all the descriptors right here under traits. So it tells you, oh yeah, they become adult at 20 and they get old at 180. And how tall they are, and the most important thing is speed. Like, oh, how far can you move in the world? So it's like, oh, they're basically humans. So you could put, oops, wrong direction. You can put whatever you want. So I'm gonna put golden. Skin is gonna be fair. Eyes are gonna be purple. Height's gonna be 5, and I'm gonna be super light, and I'll be 22, and I'll be the dude. Again, this is descriptive. It's not prescriptive, so it's not something you're locked into. In
Yeah.
terms of, uh, oh no, you know.
I know you. Maybe your character, your bard, just gets really depressed and just gains so much weight.
Right. The one thing though that is awesome is that with your weight, if you if you if you're strong enough, you could toss yourself.
Oh, all right. Well, that's something I was not aware of. That's interesting.
Yeah, if you're a gnome with strength, a gnome says, "Oh, you could pick up something your size," so he could literally like toss himself
Oh, can he? I gotta look into that.
at a
That's
certain level.
I gotta look into
Uh,
that. That's crazy. All
so
right.
while it doesn't matter, it helps with the world, and if you're a strong dude, because it could matter, but for purposes of bard, doesn't really matter.
Mm-hmm.
And then oh,
There are all the things you selected: your
whoa,
personality traits, ideals, etc., etc.
bada bing. And if I don't like it, I can just edit it, and it lets me edit it.
Yeah.
Or I could just write my own.
You can just write your own.
And then if you have your own personal notes, you could do that.
Yep. That's totally fine. You could add your notes.
I personally use my I have a running notepad right now, but that might be better. This is probably people's part that makes them play Dungeons and Dragons over and over again. It's the equipment. Um, if your DM is giving you any type of magical items, this is where you get it immediately. If you don't get a magical item, you don't. We just go down to equipment.
Yeah.
We
You can
can
choose
choose
gold,
gold.
but that's more for experienced players. With equipment, I think they give you an either or situation.
It really guides you through it.
Yeah.
As so, we could either choose a rapier or a longsword or any simple weapon.
Yeah, I would.
We learned earlier we're good at crossbows.
Yeah, I would definitely look into the specs for the weapons you should be using because that's the one thing I dislike about this. I would like to see how much damage.
Right, because I
inflicts
know
and-
a crossbow does 1d8 because I just know it, versus a short bow that does 1d6.
Yes.
And it's like, oh, what's the difference?
Yeah.
Well,
Also, yeah, if it's one-handed or two-handed, if it's
and what does that mean?
Yeah, what does that mean?
So,
Yeah.
uh,
So that's one of my qualms with this. Yeah.
and if you need to do cross-referencing, you could always refer to the player handbook or D20. Roll D20. I'm always going to refer to both because you can. Now here we have the option of choosing one of two packs, and they are wildly different. One's the Diplomats pack, where we get a chest, 2 cases, For maps and scrolls, a set of fine clothes, a bottle of ink, an ink pen, a lamp, and yada yada yada.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's just like,
It's diplomat stuff
and soap.
to keep you all clean
Yeah,
and
and stuff.
primed.
Or we could do entertainer's pack, and this is why I think this is the better option for our build. A bedroll and disguise kit are super important because when you're out in the wilderness, you need to rest. You need to sleep sometimes.
Oh yes, if you were an ABBA cover band, this is what you'd get.
Uh,
And like the kids are like, "What's an
who's
ABBA?" Not a who's an ABBA. What's an ABBA?
What's an ab? So one thing I don't understand is the fact that it tells us, oh, we get a fourth instrument, even though
Yeah, you're like
we have three instruments. I personally wouldn't choose another instrument, but there you go.
it's a lot of instruments.
Oh wait, no, it only made us proficient in instruments.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
We have to choose an instrument. I'm gonna choose horn
Yeah.
because I'm proficient in horn. I chose horn, drums, and flute.
Very good.
And I chose horn because I like horn. Um, some people want to choose things they actually play. Some people want to choose whatever. I just like the sound of a horn. We also get leather armor and a dagger, which is nice. And the other reason why I don't care about the Diplomats pack is that we already have fine clothes, a signet ring, and a scroll of pedigree that just tells us we are royalty.
Yeah, you already look pretty nice.
Yeah.
So I
we
mean,
don't need that little
yeah, it's a bit redundant.
sealing wax.
You could find soap somewhere. I mean,
Yeah. So we're gonna add all our starting equipment, and we added it, and we're gonna go to the next page.
Yeah.
Wait, because we're going to the next page. Oh
Uh-huh.
no, we're not. We're going to encumbrance. Under more. There's encumbrance. Just to talk about it, you could be carrying 120 pounds while being fine with this current build, and you could push, drag, or lift things that are 240 pounds. So you're strong, but you're not as strong as many others.
Mm-hmm.
And this matters because, hey, let's say there's a boulder and you need to get it off of a cliff. Just pick that sucker up. And we built our character.
Yeah, let's view the character sheet.
Now, there's a lot of things going on right now.
Yeah, and we'll explain it later.
What I want to focus on are the spells. Because, we forgot to do one thing.
Yes, yes. You know what? Yeah,
I forgot
let's.
to do one thing. We're gonna focus on two things: spells and equipment.
Yeah, as you
So,
can see,
under
the only attack we have is an unarmed strike, but
Yeah.
this
But
bard,
we
dude
got
bard,
crossbow.
yeah, this dude bard. But we know that we have a crossbow equipped.
And a dagger.
But so what you
we
have to
get
do is actually wield, quote unquote, the weapon so that it shows up in an attack.
Yeah, I actually did this on purpose. So we're gonna go to equipment here, and we're gonna see all that equipment we found. The nice thing is we have graphics like, this is part of our social party stuff. This is our attack stuff. And if we checkbox crossbow light and dagger and leather, I think there'll be a. Oh no, it's under manage equipment. My bad. No?
What do you need? What?
I wanted to equip it.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. Hold on. Let's check actions.
Oh, yeah.
It is equipped. All right. There you go.
All I had to do was hit the checkbox. Oh, because
Yeah.
in the previous page, if you went over your items, there would be a wield button, and that's what I was looking for.
Yes.
Now, the one thing I want to check out is, did we get bolts? Because we have the crossbow. No, we didn't get bolts. So let me show you how to get bolts now.
It might be so. Can you check your inventory? Oh, sorry. Yeah, that's inventory all.
Yeah, see.
All right.
So there's no bolts here. Uh, I would check with your DM to make sure that you can do this.
Yeah.
But because maybe he's like, no, you have to buy them,
You
or
got to buy them.
or maybe
Yeah.
she'll say you have to buy them.
I have a sneaking suspicion it's somewhere here. We just can't
Because
locate
if
it right
I
now.
because if I just attack, it's just gonna roll.
Yes. But we'll talk about it later. But that's how you generally attack, and that's how
Yeah.
you put
So
an
let's
attack onto your.
yeah. So let's say we need to add bolts because we do. You just type in bolts in the filter, and you click on add, and then automatically under inventory. Oh, it has to be somewhere because it's still not there.
It's there right now. Yeah. It's
Oh
there.
yeah, I see. I see.
Yeah.
It's under
Okay.
ammo. Crossbow bolts, and now I have 20. So I could actually hit down on the negative when I actually use them. And because we're bards, spells are really important to us.
Yeah, and we'll just run through this really fast because if we talked about spells overall, it would take hours and hours. But
We're going to keep it simple.
yeah.
We're going to just say, we're going to go under manage spells, and we're going to go to spell slots.
Spell
and we
slots.
have 2, and that just means we could cast 2. We'll talk about what that means more. We're going to go to add spells, and we have a
All right.
level 0 here and a level 1. We're going to focus on the level 0 stuff.
Yeah, and a
These are
level
called
0 spell is
cantrips.
a cantrip, and during combat you could use it once per turn, and there's no limit as to how many times you can cast this level 0 spell.
Yeah.
So that's really good. Very economical.
Vicious Mockery, I would say, is one of the best known bard spells there are because you get to insult people.
And if you are successful, you inflict psychic damage. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
So let's
and we're going to talk about what a successful cast means. We get to choose one more, and to make it simple, I'm going to choose Thunderclap because I think it's amazing. And that's because you create sound that can be heard up to 100 feet away, and it hurts everybody that hears it, including your team. So let's say you don't want to hurt your team. Uh, a good alternative, in my opinion, would be Minor Illusion. And what that does is allows you to create a sound or an image of an object within range that lasts for the duration, and it basically distracts. I'm not going to go into
Yeah.
details how it works because we're keeping it nice and simple. So
Yeah.
notice here that once I chose to learn the 2, D&D Beyond knows I can't learn anymore. So you don't have to worry about, oh, did you choose enough? So we're going to now choose level 1 spells. I personally like getting healing spells. Yes, you get more healing spells at higher levels, but having a healing spell at level 1 is always good. And as a bard, you don't want to get up close to people, so I like Healing Word over Cure Wounds. Because with Healing Word, hey, you get to be, up to 60 feet away. I also think Tasha's Hideous Laughter is great. It's a special type of spell that we'll talk about in another episode. But I think it's good because you get to take somebody out of the fight if the spell's successful. We haven't done damage yet to any we don't have any damage spells. So a good one that I like is Thunder Wave because it just does a ton of damage at 2d8, and it also pushes an enemy away. And it has a range of what they say 15, and we're going to talk about what that means in earnest later. Now, as the last spell, there's a lot of different things you could go for. If you like finding items and you want to go on a if you like finding items and identifying them, identify is good because you get to find out if something's cursed. Or let's say you wanted to go more along the talking to things, animal friendship, or comprehend languages, where you get to learn a language for an hour. Are there any spells that you think we should be choosing as our last one?
Um, Nothing off the top of my head. Um,
So, since not, I personally will always try to fit Identify in.
yes. Keep in mind that some spells require materials, especially Identify,
And we'll go
which,
over that
but yeah, that's
because
something
it
to go
tells
over
us.
later. Yeah.
But, again, I think Identify is never a waste of a spell slot, of a known spell, because you will be finding items. So, that's my take on it. Uh, we can go over other things, but as a new character, you want to focus on a few different things once you've made your character. The first thing you want to make sure is that is your weapons equipped? Because if you're not, you're going to be taking damage. And the second thing is you want to be making sure that your armor is equipped. And
Yes.
and you could check that by just clicking on armor class, which is this 14, and just say it says, "Oh, you're wearing armor." Because if you weren't wearing armor, it would let you know. And once you have your spells, your armor, and your weapons equipped and ready to go, and your character sheet finished, I think you're ready to have an adventure.
Or so you think.
Or so you think.
All right. Well, thank you very much for watching. I
I
hope
hope
we
we
didn't
didn't
waste
waste
your
your
time.